Good morning, everyone. I'm Yunshen, GovInsider's Deputy Editor, and welcome to the Spotlight on Singapore's Innovation Panel on Day 4 of the Festival of Innovation. Final day at the festival, I hope that you've been enjoying your time with us, and I can't wait to jump into our panel today. In this session, we'll be zooming into the tiny island state of Singapore and taking a look at the innovations that will bring it beyond today and the strategies that will help us to make sure that these innovations keep on coming. We have a brilliant team of speakers joining us today. We have people who are right in the thick of the action in the research labs, and we have thought leaders who are guiding the organizations and the next generation to think out of the box. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Huang Lo, who is the Associate Head of Engineering Product Development Pillar at the Singapore University of Technology and Design. She's also Center Director of the Digital Manufacturing and Design Center in Singapore.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. So the Digital Manufacturing and Design Research Center has a kind of overarching visions to advance how physical products are designed and manufactured, enabled by advanced computational tools. So over the years, our research spanned across multiple industries, from healthcare to robotics to even large-scale architectural components. So look forward to be sharing more of these work with you in the next 45 minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hongi. And next up, we have Prof. Kenneth Huang, who is the Academic Director, Master of Science in Management of Technology at the National University of Singapore. He is also Associate Professor at the Department of Industrial Systems, Engineering and Management, and the Department of Strategy and Policy at the NUS Business School. Welcome, Kenneth.
Hi, it's a great pleasure to be here. I will be introducing a little bit more about my research later on, but I just want to highlight the Master of Science in Management of Technology program has been around for a few decades now, and it's actually very exciting. We are getting really into the innovation and entrepreneurship space. We are grooming the next generation leaders who will come from a STEM background, and engineers and scientists, and as well as business school students. So I'm really excited to be here, and I hope to share a lot more about all this and what's going on later on in the panel.
Fantastic. Definitely looking forward to your insights. And last but certainly not least, we have Bidyut Dumra, who is the Executive Director and Head of Innovation and Ecosystems at DBS Bank. Welcome, Bidyut.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. As I was mentioning before, you've got professors and doctors. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. but nevertheless, at DBS, I look after innovation. This runs across the different product lines and markets. And it's interesting, I run innovation, but we have one rule over here at the team, which is no innovation allowed. And I'll talk to that more later.
Yes, we'll definitely be asking about that on an innovation panel. Okay, so I'm going to bring my first question to Hong Yi. So obviously you oversee this center that looks at design and manufacturing. You're very much in the in the space where you are coming up with these innovations. So what are you excited about in the future of your industry, and what kinds of things do you think could be revolutionary?
Well, I think it's already happening with what we're seeing with Industry 4.0, where the process of how a physical product is designed to the process of how it is finally made are potentially, interconnected through advanced computational technique. So traditionally, product designer is a different domain of expertise, let's say from the engineer who take care of the manufacturing of the product. So with the advancement of digital and computational tool, these two end-to-end kind of process of how product is made, how product concept is kind of how the design inspirations, right? Kind of input to the designs are kind of connected to how it's going to be made, and these actually had a significant impact in accelerating product innovations. So this is kind of what is already happening. What I'm excited about from where we are today is actually now that we have data about a product, we have data how it's made. How can this data be used for a sustainable manufacturing or a sustainable development in the future?
Okay. Exciting. And Bidyut, I understand this past week, DBS has just been named the world's best bank for the 4th year running. So
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations. And it's interesting because now it seems like you're right at the top. So where else are you going? What does innovation look like for DBS?
The scary thing is they say when you're at the top, there's only one way you can go, which is down, which is probably our greatest fear. But I tell you, just interesting is that if you go 10 years plus back, we started on our entire transformation because if you asked anyone there, what is DBS? They would say DBS, damn bloody slow. We were notorious for our lack of service. And the entire change we have gone through has been very conscious. It's been by design. And that's one of the parts, one of the things that we're fairly proud of is that we sat down as a leadership and we charted out what are the changes, what is that change program. We crafted out a team called the Transformation Group that would essentially not do it, but enable and show the bank how to do it. So when I talked about no innovation allowed, our mandate within the bank is to create innovators. So you create that innovation spirit and then you orchestrate innovation. So you direct that creative energy towards the right areas. So fundamentally, it's why have one team trying to reimagine the future? Why not the entire organization? So that's the sort of mantra that we have in the bank, that it's better to have all oars in the water with everyone pushing. And that's held us good so far. So thank you. But yes, we are now in this pursuit of what we call the infinite game. So if you all have heard of Simon Sinek. So we feel the best competition and yardstick is ourselves. So we're perpetually trying to better. So tomorrow it should be better than today, and then we should be all right.
Fantastic. And I'm definitely going to come back to your strategies for creating an innovative spirit within DBS. But for now, I want to jump back to Hongi for a little bit. So you talked about how we have the data for the product, we have the data for the manufacturing side of things, and then we can, there's sort of this way of tying that together to make sure that the entire manufacturing process is sustainable. So can you tell me a bit about that, and what sort of challenges or what sort of needs of Singaporeans would that be able to meet?
So firstly, how are these data potentially be useful for sustainability? Now, we are all very familiar with the 3 R's, the reduce, reuse, and recycle. But we know that there has made only perhaps tiny little dent so far in our pursuit of a sustainable society. And that's primarily at the end of life of a product. There is little that's known about what this product has gone through. And the kind of the organization who take back these product for potentially recycling and reusing or upcycling had little knowledge about what was the material makeup of these product. Right. So current kind of approach to upcycle, recycle, end-of-life product is perceived as very expensive, very labor intensive. So unfortunately, the ugly truth is a lot of these end-of-life products get sent to countries where labor is inexpensive. So these products are manually taken apart, manually make assessment. Is it good? Is it not useful? Let's sort it out. That is a huge challenge in terms of treating end-of-life product, right? But now we have what I call a digital blueprint of every other product that is going to be made by digital processes. So at the end of life, this product, you could kind of call that this digital blueprint, and what is the material makeup, what is the design, what are the parts that potentially is of high value to be kind of retrieve, recycle, and so on. So I think that is an opportunity that it's only at the beginning where the research field, the community is starting to kind of, dabble on and explore how these data could be useful for perhaps what kind of application, what kind of industry we can pursue these first.
Amazing. And my next question.
If I could
come on.
Jump. I mean, just one of the things that we've been toying with, you mentioned the 3 R, is we feel that there is a space for a 4th R. And we talk about
the 4th R?
We call it responsibility. This comes down to and again, we say as innovators, you're designing and shaping the future. So there has to be an intent in your design. So give me a quick example. We were thinking about, if you look at how kids run out of the room, and you perpetually will hear parents saying, switch off the lights, switch off the aircon, etc. And from a technical perspective, you could end up coming up with a solution where you put a sensor, so the moment the room is empty, the light switches off. But over there, you've created, you've used your product and your product design thinking to make it easy for the person to still make a mistake. Now, when I talk about design, we talk about intent, about responsibility. What if you change the door handle and you put the switch on the door handle, or the door handle doesn't shift until you switch the light off, which is at the side of it?
Right.
So you're creating the design, which is building the friction that lets people know that there is a trade-off. It's not simply that you reduce, you recycle, reuse. You be responsible for your actions. And that's the part where we talk on mindset. I find sometimes that when we look at the manufacturing process, you are creating crutches that allow people to still be stupid. And that's the part. If you can fundamentally change that and add this element of responsibility, we won't have to do many of these things downstream.
I love that you brought up this point, because digital design and design for sustainability right now have these strong kind of interest towards changing consumer and user behavior. So design for sustainability, design for circularity, it's imperative now that this is part of that design approach, the design constraint or the design objective, if you will. Absolutely.
So that's exactly right, Dr. Hong Lee. That's the area where I find that the 3 Rs are more downstream. I mean, I've got a problem, how do I fix it, etc., rather than how do we make sure this thing doesn't happen again, because we will find another way to be stupid.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic that, yeah.
Address that. I have a different R. Actually, one of the another different R that I've been exciting about is a very new concept of what about at the end of life of the product can be regenerated, right? So part of my research has been, mimicking nature, mimicking, what we see in the biological world, where in the biological world, there are examples of regenerating, when it's obsolete, right? Can we now design product that give us the option of not just, decreasing the value of the end of life product, but upcycling the value, kind of monetize, these end of life product in a new generation of product. So regeneration is another R.
That's awesome. We got 5 hours now. Now all the pressure is on Prof. Kenneth.
Yeah.
Prof. Kenneth, where's your R?
I love the turn that the conversation has taken, actually. So that thinking about, not just within the labs or, what are the things that we do within the science labs, but thinking about the end user, thinking about the users, how can we make things easier for them? And I think this ties in a bit to my next question, which happens to be quite philosophical. So I'm going to bring this to Kenneth. So the pretext for this is that, a couple of years ago, our then education minister, Ong Ye Kung, he talked about, the new entrepreneur in Singapore, have to take risks, have to be able to bounce back from failure. And then now Hong Yi and Bidyut have brought up 2 very important points as well. So how can we, even work new concepts and important concepts into the innovations themselves? And how can we think about our innovations, beyond the purpose that we're designing them for? So with all these things in mind, what would you say does it take to be an innovator in today's age in Singapore?
Okay, thanks. I was compelled to come up with the next R, but let me answer this question. So it's a big question. It's a very important question. I think now we are really in schools, in universities, we are really grooming the next generation leaders, right? So innovator leaders, right? So they have to kind of not just to learn, but learn how to learn, right? And then they have to adapt to the always changing situation. We have a very strange term called VUCA, right? So, volatility, uncertainty, the world is very much in a volatile situation, and things are constantly changing, right? And then the only thing that, doesn't change is change, right? So these innovators, a new generation of innovators, they have to adapt to the situation. And we keep telling our students that, the jobs that you have today, will not be there tomorrow, even when you graduate, right? So you have to kind of prepare yourself to look out for new opportunities and then find rooms to grow and then always continue to learn, right? So this is all about like a lifelong learning, right, for the students. So there's no one set of knowledge, no one set of courses that will prepare you enough for the future. But I think the ability to think critically, to be proactive, and then also, may I add a word, to be entrepreneurial in many ways, which is taking advantage of opportunities, making the best use of what you have under limited resource constraint. I think those mindset, right, which were mentioned just now, right, the mindset would also be very very important, right? So proactive, entrepreneurial, always be learning new things and then looking out for new opportunities. And I think Singapore provides a very good platform for many of this to happen.
Fantastic.
Let me just throw in one. So I think we need a new course that we should put into universities for AI. AI is not artificial intelligence. To your point, it's about ambition and imagination.
Oh, okay.
If we can get those two in, you talk about the entrepreneur of the future, etc., or the innovator of the future. If we can find a way to educate people on how to build and manage and direct ambition, and the same with imagination, I think that's the potent combination. So I completely agree, Prof. Kenneth, with what you're saying. Just it has to be more, I guess, structural. And I want, we should introduce it as a form, rather than let it organically happen. I think we need an intervention forced in.
That's a very good point. Let me just respond very quickly. So I think we don't have currently a course on imagination and AI, right, as you call it. But I think throughout all our courses, we do have many soft components. We have leadership courses. We do have courses that focus on innovation, that focus on design. I think part of the course is not only the hard material or the content. In fact, I think a lot of the trend is now moving into the soft skill set, right? How do you work with teams? Can you lead a team? Can you break new paths? Can you be creative and imaginative about new solutions? And so I think a lot of those are actually built into the courses. But maybe you're right that we could have one that is dedicated, right, to the AI, right, of tomorrow.
I think, Kenneth, there's one point that you brought up that I thought was interesting. So you said entrepreneurial. This is going to be something that's important. And also, I think it's interesting that for DBS, it sees itself as a 29,000 people startup. I think I've read that across quite a number of places. So what does this mean then? What does a 29,000 people startup even mean? Like, what does hiring look like? What does training talent look like?
Okay, so I'll tell you how we have, what conceptually we, what our approach is, and I'll give you one example of how we put it into action. So when we said the startup mentality, so okay, I'll give you 1 minute to set the context. DBS 10 plus years back, damn bloody slow. We decided we had to change. We got together in 2010 and we said in 5 years, we want to be ABC, the Asian bank of choice. So from 2010 to 2015, that was our mandate. We ended up becoming the Asian bank of choice in 2014. So it was great, 1 year ahead of schedule. Then we sat and said, what's next? Then we planned 2015 to 2020, we said BBIW, best bank in the world. And then coming up into 2019, 2020, we ended up basically holding that accolade. Then we started looking forward. But in these areas, when we hit 2014, we were very conscious that we would be a digital company. So digital to the core, embed ourselves in the customer journey, and we would operate like a startup because we wanted that mindset, that aggression of startups, that do or die attitude. So we have an ABCDE, to be agile, to be a learning organization, to be customer centric, to be data driven and experiment and take risks. So that's our ABCDE. So that embodies what we what we call a startup mindset or culture. And with each of these, be it A for agile or B for be a learning organization, we have programs in place. So in regards to attracting talent, we very consciously wanted to, because if you want to be a digital company and you want to have a fight in the digital space, you need digital people, you need techies. So we started hiring, and we've gone from 85% outsourced to 85% insourced. So the DBS products are built by our people. Now, when you need developers, we said the best developers to have are hackers. And we were like, okay, but how do you convince a hacker to come and work for an organization, let alone a bank? So we rechanged our entire hiring, and we have a program called Hack to Hire, where we do a call out, we put up a pseudo bank for people to hack. You go and you do the online hack test, and then you get invited on a Friday, and you have 2 days to complete a code challenge where you are working with DBS staff. And on the Sunday, if you complete it, you get a letter of offer on the day. So we changed our entire hiring policy and the way we do to attract the talent that we want. And then, of course, we needed the right projects to retain that talent. But we made them hack with the DBS coders because we want them to know the people that they're going to be working with as well. So you have to shift. So if you want to be something different, you need to have a vision of what it might look like, but then you need to create the right programs that will support your change to support that. So yeah, so that's our startup mentality in action.
Interesting. And I'm going to turn to Hongi for now. I think right now we have sort of, the conversation has sort of shifted to the process of making room for innovation. So making sure that, innovation is encouraged, whether that's in a school setting, whether that's in an organization setting. What do you think we are not talking about enough in terms of making room for innovation?
I think one of the challenge that we kind of recognize in academic world is that increasingly innovation require knowledge from multiple disciplines. And traditionally, probably every one of us here receive our training in one discipline. And so the ability to connect disciplines in a effective manner, in a rapid manner, I think it's a increasingly important success factor for rapid innovation. Now, it is a challenging topic because how do you train someone without a person become jack of all trade, but nothing they can contribute, right? And I think that is a difficult kind of a topic. So the balancing between providing enough fundamental and yet training a person who has the ability to connect the different dots. I think that needs to be recognized more, the importance of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Kenneth, I'm going to turn to you for this now. So obviously people, Hongi brought up the importance of people, and obviously for Bidyut as well. But when we think about tech and innovation, as things are moving so quickly, how do we make sure that the tech doesn't outrun or run ahead of the people? How do we make sure that our innovators can keep up and our people are in pace with that change?
Sure. So I do my own research look at innovation and technology management. So we always say that you control the technology, right? So don't let the technology control you or run your day or run your life. Right? So you are ultimately you use the technology for either beneficial things that would have a good impact on society, or it could be for adverse consequences. Right? So I think first, this is important kind of idea that students and people should have in mind, that you are the master of technology. And second, as I was saying, right, the VUCA concept, right, one of them is actually complexity, right? So things are very complex nowadays, and of course volatile, and things are changing very rapidly, right? So we have many tools that we show our students, we share with our students to kind of see the trends of the future, right? So we have S-curve, we have different prediction tools, we have different forecasting tools. I think those are all very helpful as a toolkit to have that can help not only individuals, but organizations, firms, startups to kind of, have a bit of a crystal ball, right? To look into the future and see what might be coming, okay, in the next, 3, 5, 10 years. And some of these are fairly accurate, right? But I think, all models are wrong, some are useful, right? So we tell our students this, and I think you have to kind of use it, be kind of embedded in a particular context of your choice, whether it's a particular industry, whether it's a particular, technology that you are, just, fascinated, by, learn about it, understand the context very well, and then you can apply those tools to its maximum benefit. Otherwise, they are just frameworks which doesn't speak too much. Right? Yeah.
Cool. And I think now let's think a bit about structuring organizations. So most of our when we think about innovation, I would think that one place in the world that jumps to mind is Silicon Valley. A lot of innovations have sprung from there, but it can also sometimes have that reputation of moving fast and breaking things. And with most of our audience who sit in the public sector, that's not really the best way to go about it. But how then can we think about structuring organizations to make room for innovation, or how can we build that culture of innovation within an organization? Maybe Bidyut, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
Sure. So, I mean, you talk about carrots and sticks, so you need both. But I guess from an organization perspective, it has to start with a very clear understanding of what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. So from a DBS perspective, as I mentioned, we not only were people saying we're damn bloody slow, we were actually at the bottom of the customer ratings. So there was a burning platform that was pushing us to basically do more. From a leadership, then the leadership came together. It was very opportune. Piyush, as a new CEO, came and joined us. And the great thing has been is that the leadership from that time till now has not changed that much. So we have had a consistent leadership on the top, which means there's been a consistent message and consistent voice and consistent mandate. But if you want to push, like from a systematic perspective, we created the transformation group that would do that in regards to showing the way. But we started, any program that we started, we would start with, we call ourselves, we're lucky we're the Goldilocks size, we're not too big, not too small. We've got about close to just under 300 managing directors. So these are the top of the leadership that runs the organization. Mm-hmm. So pre-COVID, we could bring everyone into one physical room. Whenever we started a new program, we would start by educating the top of the house. So when we rolled out design thinking, all our customer journeys, the 4D methodology, we taught them first. Data, we ran masterclasses on data with the top of the house first. What questions do you ask, etc. Agile, we taught them about the fundamentals. And what that does is that not only keeps alignment and consistency, but they learn the language. Because the rest of the workforce, when we would start rolling out programs to the working level, it's like a pincer. You move from top down, bottom up. But the language that they keep hearing the senior leadership talk, even now, you go and you look, Xuan, Sim, Xuan, Xuan, Paul, Piyush, whenever they talk, they'll all talk about journeys, they'll talk about customer centricity, they'll talk about digital to a core, they'll talk about Gandalf. It's because the language makes a huge difference as a signal. That's one. The other is we rechanged, so we have a balanced scorecard. We rechanged the scorecard and we put 20% in the middle towards transformation. That means 20% of every manager and every employee, they are measured on how they have changed the organization from last year to this year.
Right.
Which means, if working in a bank, if your bonus depends on it, it gets done. So you've got these two soft and hard aspects that are working. And of course, we've got a range of different behavioral science programs. So I call ourselves biohackers because we are augmenting the organization's mindset, skill set, and tool set. But having these fundamental layers of language and alignment at the top, making sure that you've got the right incentives at the bottom, and then squeezing, it has made, for us, it has worked. So that's an approach to consider.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about biohackers, that's really interesting. That the fact that, the organization is not just ready, but hungry for change and asking for that from the employees is so much that it's worked into the way that they are sort of assessed. So I think that's definitely something interesting to keep in mind.
But actually, you should consider change or an organizational change quotient as a muscle. So I remember when we used to start, we would only do one program a year.
Yeah.
Now we do up to 4 to 5 programs a year because there is a muscle that has built in the organization. Now the organization, the employees, they know that next year there's going to be something different to grapple with, some new paradigm that they have to react towards or adapt to. So that muscle of change builds. Then your cultural shift has happened where people are not only anticipating, but they are looking forward to it. So where we are now is after 10 plus years of change and transformation. So
right. Yeah. Okay. So now we've looked back, I think at least from DBS's journey. Now let's think about the future, looking forward. Huang, what would you say are some of the tools or techniques or strategies that you are excited to explore in the upcoming year?
Well, I am a kind of proponent of interdisciplinary research. So, bringing, I guess actually not just it's multidisciplinary, like bringing designer with engineer, with programmer together to solve very challenging questions. Sustainability to me is another, topic of my personal passion because it's a really wicked problem and it cannot be solved by technologies alone, cannot be solved by policymakers alone. So bringing designer, like designing product that people want to use and yet instill the sense of sustainability and having technology that give options for how this product could be, not end up in, low labor countries or as landfills. So I think all of these need to come together. So I think I am excited and really looking forward to, working with, this bigger group of a community, of course, the research community, technology, but as well as reaching out to companies, because obviously, the research and the industries have to kind of come closer together to solve such problems. So yes, I think we're gonna be very busy.
That's exciting. And for Kenneth, what do you think are some of the things that you are interested to explore or to find out more about in the coming year?
Yeah, I actually very much agree with Hong, right? So I think innovation is inherently interdisciplinary. And in fact, I think NUS, we just merged our School of Design and Architecture with the School of Engineering, right? So we will now call it the College of Design Engineering, talking about ABCDE. So this is CDE, right? College of Design and Engineering. So I think the message is actually very clear. And so I think to equip an innovator, to equip the next generation, leaders, and we want to educate our students and make sure they are in this interdisciplinary environment. They can take courses, they can interact with, faculty and professionals and executives across different disciplines, and many of the very interesting problems actually come at the boundary, right, between disciplines, right? Even the double helix DNA, right? From the early days, it's from biology and chemistry, right? So it's a spark, right, from the different discipline that kind of produce some breakthrough innovation, and I think that's what I'm interested in as well. And then also to think about organizations as increasingly open. And also inclusive, right? So open in the sense of, open innovation is a big word, but, organization want to look outside, right? Not only within their boundaries, the walls, but also look outside for, talent, for ideas, and how we can make sure that new ideas are actually channeled into these organizations. And how do we have this mindset, as was mentioned before, right? So this mindset change, and the top management team, the leadership, a consistent message, what is actually very, very important, right? In ensuring that kind of mindset and cultural change, right? So now you are expected to change, right? Year after year, and then you have a particular, agenda or a KPI. In Singapore, we like to say KPI, but like a specific goals that are directed at transformation. They are directed at change, directed at coming up with new creative or innovative solutions. I think that's very important for organizations. So all the way from education to organizations and to businesses, I think we are seeing a new wave of change, and many of that are happening at the boundaries of discipline.
Fantastic.
So just a thought on that. I think both points. I mean, for me, I feel the only reason I'm here is because I did get an education. So I've got a high regard for education and education institutes. But I do think that maybe there is a need for a radical shift. So here's a thought. Just riffing off what you both just said. If you want to build that multidisciplinary appreciation, you talked about learning, relearning. You alluded to the whole unlearning aspect as well. Why are courses the way they're structured? What if I said, okay, why don't the universities rejig, and why isn't a course 15 years or 20 years? Why we jam everything into a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year course? Why not reshift the entire thinking and saying, actually, your learning journey it's a never-ending journey. Yeah. Why not make it in a way that the course program is actually 20 years? And you will automatically shift the person's frame of mind to what education means, how I apply it, how the world of theory and practice come together, and also shape-shift a person knowing that I'm not going to be able to do one thing. I will exhaust and saturate my understanding, so I will be interacting on multiple disciplines. Yeah. Then I think there might be a way to break even the educational paradigm and shift some of our thinking. So I don't know. Just a thought.
No, that's a very... Okay. So let me just jump in first. So that's a very important point, and that very point, I think there has been already that shift, right, in the mindset. In NUS now we have this lifelong learning idea, and all the alumni can actually come back and take courses for free, right? And then so we know that it doesn't only happen within 1 year or two, but there's a very practical reason why it's constrained to 1 or 2 years, because we want to be able to structure the fees and to make a very tangible kind of product or degree that we can award, right, to students, right? But I think what we really focus on or emphasize on is that it's not, the learning is not about you. It's not going to stop after that 1 year or 1.5 years. But really, it is about learning how to learn, and then it should be a lifelong learning process, right? So things are always changing, and things are changing more and more quickly. So I think it should be a lifelong learning process, and you are always thinking about how do you upgrade yourself, how do you think about new ideas, how do you train yourself in the latest kind of tools or framework or mindset. So I think those are quite important. But we do see that fundamental shift already in NUS and in other universities and organizations. But I just want to kind of put it out there and to make sure that the message is actually is very clear.
No, I think we guys are part of the problem, because if organizations put that much weight on degrees and universities, etc., we are part of that system. So like I mentioned about hack to hire over there, everyone wore t-shirts that said "talk is cheap, show me the code," because we didn't want to make the decision based on a person's pedigree or degree. It was based on what they could do, which was the nature of a
because the students are in a way your customer for especially for executive programs, and then they want to see at the end of 1 year, do I get something back, right? Something tangible, that certificate, or is it a degree or something, right? But I think increasingly people are paying more attention to not only the hard skill but the soft skill, and also the shift in mentality, like you were saying, right? So if you can do the job, right, why do you need, right, 2, 3, 4 degrees, right? I mean, other ways to showcase, right, what you can achieve.
100%. Hongi, you have thoughts on this?
Yes, I have. I just want to add a perspective today. I think it's a valid point that was brought up.
Yeah.
Our current way of tertiary education and aiming for that end of 4-year certificate. You see, to change that, and that's a very valid point. And I would be very keen to explore that kind of thinking and debate, right? But the whole industry has to change as well, because the problem is, how does employer evaluate potential candidate? How many employer would be like you and say, I'm not going to look at your degree and what courses you take. I'm not going to look at your GPA. How many employees are going to be able to do that? So it's a very worthwhile point, and it does warrant a lot of debate and discussion, because that mind shift change is not just in the educator. It's in the employer as well.
Yeah. And I'm glad that in this panel we had, both sides, both the people who are bringing up the next generation of innovators and also the people who are hiring and training up the next generation of innovators. I think definitely there is a balance that needs to be going on. It sort of needs to start from somewhere, and perhaps it can start from right here in this panel. Okay, so we are nearing the end of our session today. I feel like time has just flew by for the past 40 minutes, but let's have a mini activity to round off today's discussion. So let's do a fill in the blanks. So Singapore is entering the age of blank. So you can put in a word, 2 words, the first thing that you think of. I'm going to give everyone sort of like a couple of seconds to think about it. Singapore is entering the age of something. So
I'm going to start off. I'm going to borrow Bidyut's word earlier. Responsible. As a responsible citizen, we want prosperity, but we also want to be responsible to the place that we inherit in. So
fantastic. Thank you, Hongi. And Bidyut, now that Hongi has kind of taken the word from you, what would your word be? Singapore is entering the age of.
So since she went for responsibility, I'm gonna force the issue and stick with an R. I'm gonna go with reflection. So, if you look at Singapore as Singapore has engineered itself into the force that it is, and for me, so I shifted into Singapore, and it's amazing what the country has done. And again, if I look at DBS having transformed by design, Singapore as a nation has been built by design. So the success hasn't happened, it was engineered. So from that perspective, it has become a hub of transportation, has become a hub of logistics, etc. So I think now with a lot of the bets that the nation has made, with COVID, there has been a lot of shifts. There's a lot of things that have been unraveled. So I think Singapore is going through a reflection to what is the next set of bets to make on, and sustainability, security, trust. All these discussions are happening. So I think it's a time of reflection to Prof. Kenneth's point, to get that radar or crystal ball and to make those right, I guess, decisions for everyone here that's living in this red dot.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just wrap up by saying Singapore is entering an age of unprecedented opportunities, right? So I think I think that will sum up the panel pretty well. Unprecedented opportunities, but also amidst a set of challenges and uncertainty, right? So I think the key is how do you convert, how do you take advantage of this new opportunities, but also in the times of challenge, but change this into embrace the challenges, but view it in a positive way, and then make it turn into a positive opportunity, and then to make the best use of it, right? So we see the silver lining on the cloud, right? Be it COVID, be it the financial crisis, every time I think the country has emerged stronger. And it's because of the resilience that we have, and also because we are able to kind of embrace the challenges and turn these challenges into new opportunities that we can tap on, and we can continue to grow and then be excited, whether it's for our students or entrepreneurs or innovators in the new era.
100%. Fantastic.
I like it. All of us stick to one word, but the professor will
Very
keyboard
long.
and pick a whole bunch of words. Doesn't stick.
Unprecedented opportunity.
Definitely. So we've got responsibility, we've got reflection, we've got unprecedented opportunities.
Yes.
I think that is a fantastic note to end off our panel on. Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your insights with me today. And a huge thank you to all of our audience for tuning in and joining us this session. We hope
Thank
that
you
you've
very
learned
much.
something new and that you're excited about the opportunities that lie ahead. After lunch, do join us for a fireside chat on the future of preserving our past. We'll be joined by Honor Haja, who is the Executive Director of the Art Science Museum, and Dr. Yuen Chen, who is an artist, as well as a lecturer of arts and humanities at Yale NUS College. So they'll be sharing how digital tools can protect our heritage, drive social change, and also empower communities. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Take care, stay safe, and until the next time, goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yes.
All the best. See you. Bye-bye.